Hello and welcome as we continue in this our series of Let's Play with React. Okay, so this is where we stopped, and in this lecture, we're going to be creating a counter. A counter app is going to explain the concept of state management, props. We're going to use it to learn about components. We're going to also use it to learn about the lifecycle methods using React Hook, use state, and the rest. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Okay. Before we start, I'm able to have a pen for the code and for the visuals, so that as I make changes here, you can easily see it here. So let's say I come here. This is about us, services, and contact us. So if I include one more route here and say gallery, save, then once it is saved, I can be able to see it this side. Okay, so I'm gonna do Control S to save this, and if I do that, I'm gonna do npm start, because that's how you start the development server. Okay, so that is what we're going to be doing. So as we are making our changes, we are going to be seeing it on this other side, so that it becomes easy for you to understand what is happening. So I'm going to be explaining some little concepts now before we start the counter, so that you'll be able to understand what we are doing. So you can see this I was talking about JXX. So you can see this is the H1 tag that has this navigation. Then this do calc has this login form, whereas this show result has footer. Okay, so that is what we have. You can see now this is H1. This is how you normally write your HTML. But you can also see that this do calc now is coming out as if it is a HTML tag. The show results, you can see there's very resemblance between this H1 and all these. But you know that these are the components. So that's why we call it JXS. They look like HTML, but HTML that combines with JavaScript. So that is the essence of this whole JSX. You can use it to easily render your application. So you can see now this is gallery. It's on another tab. It's because of the reduction here. If I increase this, you're gonna see that the gallery is here, but I'm gonna take it back because we want all the pages to be shown together. So I'm quickly gonna close out this, so that I know that this is the only thing that is left. Okay, so once you make any changes here, you can see it here. So this is our login form for the do calc. So in subsequent classes, you're going to see that you can do something like, just like you can come to this H1 and do something like give it another prop like style equal to. So just the way you give attributes to your HTML tag, we're going to be able to also give attribute the to the components. So we can say something like title equal to. So we can simply give it a title. So that is what we're going to be learning. So you can only give this title by using props. Please make sure this spelling is correct. So you can only do something like this using props. So you can say title is equal to say login form or something. So these are what we're going to be learning, how to you can now assign title. So when you are assigning something like this, you call it props for React, whereas when you're doing it like this for HTML, we'll call it attributes. So you're going to see the relationship between these props and attributes, and that's why we call it JSS. So these components that you're importing, you know, we've created a component do calc and show results. Now when you bring them into the root app, which is app.js, you're going to be able to assign props to them, similar to the way that you assign attributes to HTML. And that is what we're going to be trying out in the counter app that we're going to be building. You're going to see that we're going to create a component called buttons. Then when we now assign props, which is similar to attributes, we can now use it to make that button component reusable. So we can attach different props that will make the same button component to behave differently when used in different places. Okay, so that is what we're going to be doing. So please, I want you to, I'm just explaining this so that you understand what is happening. So these do calc and show results are actually components that you brought in. You can see used import statement to bring them from the components folder, because that's where we have them, the do calc and the show result. Okay, so that's how we are going to create a button for the counter, and we import it. Then we're going to assign, we're going to attach prop to it, which is similar to attaching attributes to normal HTML. And that is the whole concept of JSS, JavaScript XML, which is the syntax used in rendering components. So you have something that looks like JavaScript, but you're combining it with something that looks like HTML, but you're combining it with JavaScript in order to give your application the kind of behavior that you want. We're also going to be using CSS. You're going to learn how to bring in CSS using an access folder, which we are going to be creating in order to make your work look beautiful. Okay, so these are the various components. This is the nav component represented here with the H1. This is the login form component represented here with the do calc, and this is the show result component. So this is very, very important that you know about this. So I can simply come here, instead of do calc, I can now say rename. This do calc now, I'm renaming it to login. So this becomes the login component. You can see that. So it becomes this do calc now becomes the login component. It's showing error now because I have to simply come in here and change this from do calc to what? Login. Then I make sure that in the export statement I also have what? Login. So once I do that, I should be able to update the imports so that anywhere that it imported it as do calc before, it's going to change it to login. Okay, so if I go back now to my I'll quickly save and go back to my app.css. So in place of do calc, I'm going to have what? Login. Okay, so I'm doing this because I want it to look exactly so the app is working. So this login form now is coming in from this very login. So I'm going to do the same to show result. So the show result, I'm going to be changing it to what? Footer. So it's going to be the footer component. So I'm going to go to where it is and change this from show result to what? I'm going to change this from show result to footer, and I'll make sure that the export is also labeled as what? Footer. Okay. So I'm going to save this. Okay, then when I go to app.js, make sure that this is also changed to footer. Then I'll now make sure that here that I reference it, that this one is what? The login component, whereas this one is the what? The footer component. So once I save now, my code is going to come back well. Okay, so you can see now everything is now working back fine. It's now compiling well because now I'm bringing in login components from the login folder and also footer components. So you can see login and footer, and you can see that this is the login and it has the login form, and this is the footer. It has the footer EML style. This. Okay, so when you now come to app.js, you bring all of them in. So one more thing, now I'm going to create another component and call it nav so that I'll put this one there. So I'm going to simply come here, click here, and go to new component, and I'll simply say nav.js. Oh, there's a mistake. I said this must be in capital letters, so I'm going to simply what? Delete. Make sure that your component name is always in capital letters. So I'm going to create new file again. So I'm going to call it .js. Okay, so this is the nav, and I told you if you want to create, you can simply say arrow FCE, which is the snippet that I showed you about, talked to you about. So once you click enter, you can see the nav here. I don't know why this is in small letter, it should be in capital letter. Okay, so in place of what is here, I'm going to simply copy this because I don't want to have this here again. I'm going to cut it, Ctrl X to cut it. Then I'll come here and put it there. Okay, so I'm going to save Ctrl S, so Prettier will arrange it for me. So this is what I'm having now. So once I go to my app.js, if I save this now, we are not going to have this nav again. It will go out until I import it. Okay, you can see it's gone. So you have only the two components, login and footer, because those are the ones here. But I'm gonna bring in the nav. So I'm gonna come here now, and I'll say nav. I'm gonna bring in the nav component. You see the way I imported it. Okay, so once I save now, it's gonna come back again. Okay, telling me error, keyword, blah blah blah. So make sure that you import it up here. So let me make the import. I'm gonna say import importing nav from the C. Even as I'm writing, it's doing code completion for me. Import nav from where? Where are you importing nav from? So I say what? Dot slash importing it from component slash what? Nav. Okay. So that is what I need to do. So I'm gonna save back this file. Okay. So it's behaving well now. You can see that now. So you can see that I've removed all the HTML. Now I'm having only the components imported. So using JXS syntax. So that is what we call JXS. So we're going to be adding things like I said before, title, equal to, then we'll write just the way you attached, like in the H1 that I had before. You can attach things like or title and other things. Okay, let's try it out. Let's still bring in the H1 again. Okay, so we now have our H1. So let our H1 now have something like Ostino's Ostino website. So if I save, you're gonna see that come out. So you can see Ostino website. So this is now the heading, and you can see the other components. So you can see that all these components, their contents are not here. Their contents are actually what is in the other places. So if I go back to now and I remove the gallery that I just put, see the file I'm working on, but it's gone. This gallery is see it has gone. So we now have this. So even when you go to the various files and do something, this login form. So I can change this from login form and say login and register form instead of just login form. If I save, here we're gonna have login and register form. You see, so I can go to the various components I'm working, but because I've already imported them here in the root component, which is the app.js, all of them are coming out there. Okay, so that is what we're going to be doing. So we can simply give a font style and all those just the way you do. But in the subsequent class, we are going to be turning this much more into an application by creating a counter. So please take note of what we've done. So we say that React is a component. Components are the reusable building blocks for the React. So this nav, this login, this footer, they are actually components. So they are now brought together. So if you now want to make any changes in nav, you can just simply go to nav and make change. Then every other thing remains the same because they actually are still giving you what they were giving you before. So if I go to the footer component, now this is the footer component. I want to change this from Ostino@gmail and put my real email address. So I can simply go there, go to the footer. This is the footer. Say email us at. So I can put my mail email. You can say Emeka Augustine 45 @gmail.com. So once I save, you're gonna see from Ostino, it's gonna change to Emeka Augustine 45. Okay. So this is actually how you're gonna do it. So when you now use CSS and format this file, you're going to build out a website that looks very fun. So you can see that you're using a combination of HTML and JavaScript, and that is the concept of using JavaScript, XML, JXSL. So you can actually bring in something here. You can say Oxtino website, and then if you want to bring in a JavaScript expression, you can say Oxtino website at. So I can say art, and I come in here and bring in a valid JavaScript expression. So you can say at 10. So 10 is 5 plus 5. So you can put 5 plus 5 there. Then it will give you, automatically give you, this Ostino website will change from to Ostino website at 10. So if I save now, you can see Ostino website at 10. Okay, so as you're making changes here, you're seeing the output here. So in subsequent classes, we are building a counter. So in building this counter, we're going to use different ways of building a counter. We're going to be learning a whole lot of concepts. We're going to be learning about props, states, reusable component. We are going to build one button component and make it reusable by attaching props to it, which I told you props are like attaching attributes to normal HTML tag. So you can see this HTML tag, whereas this is the component brought using the JXS syntax. So we're going to be building one application, which is a counter application, but we're going to be using class-based components. Here you're going to learn how to use props and constructors and component demand and all those. Then we're also going to build it using React hook, using the use state hooks. We're going to also rebuild this same app using Redux toolkit. We will rebuild this same counter app using context API and using reducers. We're also going to rebuild it using the old Redux so that you see the difference between the old Redux and the Redux toolkit where you use create slice and the rest. So this single application of counter, you're going to learn a whole lot. So we're going to be starting out by building using hooks, then using lifecycle methods, using Redux toolkit, using normal Redux, using context API, so that you learn a whole lot of things by building a counter app. After the counter app, you're going to learn a currency conversion app where we're going to be talking to an external API using Axios. We're going to connect. Axios is similar to the Fetch API in JavaScript. So we're going to be learning a whole lot moving forward. So I urge you to tune in all the times. If you have any questions and concerns, always drop them in the comment section. I'll always look at them and address them. Thank you, and see you when I see you.